Yo, 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 what's up? Welcome back to the Wrestling Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myers. And as always, the Wrestling Strength Podcast is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. Make sure to go to maxeffortmuscle.com for all your supplement needs. Look, my athletes take it. I trust it for my athletes. What more do you need to know? Go to maxeffortmuscle.com. We will get you taken care of. All right, so this week on the Wrestling Strength Podcast, I got a very special guest. I want you guys all to meet and become familiar with the newest member of the Ohio Regional Training Center, Taleb Rahmani. What's up, Taleb?
What's up? Nice to be here.
How are we feeling today? Good session today, right?
Yeah, my legs are still burning.
All right. And it hasn't been that long after the workout, but I'm sure you'll feel good later, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You did put in some work on the sled, though, for sure. But so, Taleb, just to kind of catch everyone up, you're a Central Ohio guy from Marysville. And then, you know, did your college career at Pitt, and now you're back in Central Ohio training at the Ohio RTC. Does it feel good to be back?
Oh, it feels good to be back. And then before I was here, I was down in Oklahoma at their RTC for about a year. But, yeah, it wasn't the right place for me, but
Feels good to be home, though, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I got my friends here, family. And then I'm glad to be back in Ohio.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's some advice that I always give young guys, not just from an athletic standpoint, but I always say, you know, go out and see the world a little bit. You can always come back home, right? You know, so probably at, 18, 19 years old, you were excited to leave, go to Pittsburgh, you go to a new city, you get to meet all kinds of new people, experience new things. But home's always going to be there, so you can always come back. You got to go see other places. You got to live in Oklahoma for a while, you know.
Yeah, so I'm glad I got out, but definitely not an Oklahoma boy. Right? There was just, I don't know if it was just me, but like some of the guys on the team, they had boats. They went out to the lake a lot. I was never really invited that much, but the one time I did go to the lake, it was a blast. But other than that, didn't really have the best time there. But I mean, it was a good experience. I lived on my own for the first time. Got to pay like my own insurances and stuff. So it was good little experience on my own.
It was like that next step of growing up and turning into a full-fledged man, right?
Oh yeah, I have not had any experience. Like still, when I was in Pittsburgh, like my family was paying my rent for me. Like I had my scholarship. I wasn't paying my own for my own school yet, but now at least I had to pay for my own rent out there. Had to pay for my insurance. I actually had to schedule my own doctor's appointments and stuff there, which was crazy. A 23-year-old kid never scheduled my own doctor's appointments or dental or anything like that. It was I still had to call my mom for that. I was like, Mom, what do I do?
Well, I tell you, I think that, this is something I talk about a lot because there's a lot of discussion like in the business space and the entrepreneurial space about like, is college necessary? You know, because a lot of people say, well, you don't have to have a college degree. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, but I did go to college. You know, I graduated from Ohio State with my degree in English. I was going to be an English teacher originally. And I think one of the most important functions of college is kind of like that buffer period that allows you to kind of have to grow up and start doing these things on your own, making your own doctor's appointments, learning how to, like, where do you take your car to get the oil change, all these little things that maybe you depended on for your parents when you were younger that now you're kind of forced to do. And it's maybe an easier transition to do it when you're kind of in that in-between stage where, like you said, at some point, you know, the college was paying paying for your school, your parents maybe were paying your rent or whatever it was. It kind of allowed you that nice buffer period to figure things out without maybe taking an L too much, you know?
And it was still like the in-between for the in-between because like as like a college athlete, you still don't make your own doctor's appointments because whatever doctor's appointments you do, usually what the doctor's appointments you need are because of your sport. So your trainer makes those doctor's appointments for you. The only thing you really have to do is like if you need like dental stuff, but if you have like your like wisdom teeth taken out, the trainer still schedules that for you. So like I'd never had really, even when I was still at Pitt, I didn't really have to schedule my own stuff there either. So it was like, that in-between to the in-between.
Yeah, the athletes do get pampered a little bit in that way,
a little bit. But I mean, then it depends. Like we do get like we get free food sometimes from like we have our nutrition center, but depending on where you go, the nutrition centers aren't the best. Like I know here at Ohio State, like their food hall is amazing, where at Pitt it wasn't as good as food. But
well, you know, I mean, Pittsburgh's that blue collar tough town.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they don't want to make it too easy on you guys. You know?
Yeah.
They need you guys to be rough and tough. So I mean, let's talk about your time at Pitt. You had a good experience there. Did you ever consider staying there to train, postgraduate versus going to Oklahoma or whatever?
Yeah, I did. I really wanted to stay because I loved my coach, Keith Gavin, who was also at the Ohio RTC before.
Yeah, my first year at the RTC, I think, was Gavin's last year there, so I got to work with him a little bit way back in the day.
And he's such a technical guy, and that's what I need to work on. I have weird hips, and I'm really good in scrambles, but I really needed to hone in and focus on my technique and my hand fight, where that's what he really excels in, and that's who I really wanted to work with. But Pittsburgh RTC is a lot smaller, and they have they kept our heavyweight. His name is Demetrius Thomas, who is an All-American, 2-time ACC champ, and
Pletcher came in.
Yep. Who's their volunteer assistant too. So they have a lot of money on him. They also have a lot of money on Megaludis, who was national champ, I think, couple-time finalist from Penn State, who's from that area.
I forgot that he's at the Pitt RTC now.
Yeah, so they didn't really have enough money to keep me there, so I had to look for other options, and then that's about what happened with that. But I really did want to stay because I love the coaches, I love the area, but I think I needed – with how things ended with nationals getting canceled and I kind of spiraled down a little bit, I needed to get out and have a fresh start somewhere new.
Yeah, man, what a disappointing end to a great career for not just you but so many guys. Obviously Colin, Pletcher, all these guys. Mm-hmm. To not be able to compete in nationals your senior year, which I would say you were probably poised to make the podium that last year. And
yeah.
I mean, how did that kind of affect you to? It would have been the week after ACCs you find out.
Yeah, so I was I didn't really have the best senior year. I was on and off. I was not doing well mentally, in keeping focused, and then but I really started to turn it on, which I usually do in the postseason. ACCs, I had a great tournament, and I was feeling good. My weight was finally under control, and I saw my draw, and I felt real good that I was going to at least make the quarters. And then the week before got canceled, and I did not handle it well. I didn't know if I was actually going to keep competing or not. So yeah, my mental health, and especially that we weren't allowed to we couldn't go anywhere because everywhere went on lockdown, I did not prosper and quarantine in the beginning. But then I started reaching out to different RTCs, and that's what I finally was able to think that I'm finally going to be able to wrestle again, and compete and do what I love. And then from there on, I started getting back in shape, started lifting again, started finding other places where I could get on the mat, and then went to Oklahoma, started wrestling there, and then just the mental aspect of actually working out again and training at a hard level.
And so, now with you here in Columbus, let's kind of talk about your training situation here. Obviously one of the best, rooms in the country, probably one of the best rooms in the world, I'm going to say. Who have you been scrapping with? Who do you like working with? Who's been kind of in your ear, helping you fix things, stuff like that?
So right now I've been working with Wilcox and Hubbard. They're my drill partners. And then because I'm still getting back into it. And then I also work with Evan Henderson a lot. Cause he's real good with freestyle. He's lighter than me. Still kicks my ass a little bit, but
he's 65 kilos.
Yeah,
right?
65 kilo. But he really knows what he's doing, and he's
tough, seasoned freestyle guy.
Yeah, and he's been helping me a lot with my parterre and just some different aspects of freestyle that are different than folk style. When you shoot, you don't really want to wait when you get in, and get into a scramble. You want to shoot and finish as quick as you can, so you don't get a quick tilt and for two.
Yeah, you can get exposed real easy.
Yeah.
Now, were you a big freestyle guy in high school?
Not in high school. I only wrestled Fargo twice, my junior and senior year, freestyle state junior and senior year, and then went to college. I placed 7th in juniors after my redshirt freshman year. That was a tough weight class. It was Mark Hall, Marinelli, McFadden, Hidley, Wick, I forget who got 6th, and then I got 7th.
All big timers.
Yeah, and then I placed 7th the next year at seniors at the Open. There wasn't that many good people in there at that time, but.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, it surprises me that you're not a big freestyle guy, because I remember watching you in high school, you know, with you being a Central Ohio kid. You know, you guys, Marysville, would come out to the Watkins tournament. I seen you wrestle the state tournament a couple years. And your style, if you know, I would have looked at it and thought, like, this guy's either a big freestyle guy or a big Greco guy, because you were always, you know, real funky hips, hitting big throws, hitting big moves. And kind of my perception of watching you, you know, you were a good competitor and you wrestled hard, but you always seemed like you were having fun. Like, it was fun to watch you. You know, some guys that are good competitors, but they're like so intense, and it's like
they're too tight and
they're almost
too stiff.
Yeah, like where watching you, like you never knew what was going to happen, and it looked like you were like having a blast out there. That's kind of was my impression of you as a young wrestler.
No, and I still have that, like where I still, every time I'm on the mat and when I'm competing, I still have a blast. Like I got more as I got older, like with my my freshman year, that's the only way I wrestled was real loose. But then like as I kept going, I noticed looking back now, I was getting a little bit more stiff. And then my senior year, at the end of my senior year, that's when I started getting back to what was making me good my freshman year, was getting loose and being a little bit more unpredictable and all that. And that really translated in my freestyle too. Like I was wrestling at the Open. I would score a lot of points, but I also give up a lot of points. And a lot of things that Keith was saying, like you'd be great if you could just shave off all the points that you're giving to people and just and keep the points that you're scoring.
Quit giving them the easy points, right?
Yeah, because I would just do stupid stuff. Like I would try a throw that I didn't need to go for and give up 4 where I really didn't need to, when I would be up 8-0 and then now it's 8-4.
Do you think that's just because you like to just let it fly, or because you really think the opportunity's there? What do you think it is?
A little bit of both. Because I do like to let it fly, but like when you're in high level matches and it's real close,
you got to be real strategic.
Yeah, you can't be giving up stupid points, because those points could really come back and bite you in the ass.
All right, so let's talk about what you got kind of next on your radar. So, I mean, obviously the Open will be, you know, not until in the spring or whatever. But what do you have coming up? I
can't actually wrestle in the Open.
Okay, well let's talk about why. I was trying to do a good lead into it, but
okay.
I kind of jumbled it a little bit. But so tell us what you have coming up, who you'll be wrestling for, and where.
So the date is December 31st. I'll be competing in the Algerian Championships. So I'm trying to make the Algerian National Team, and then if I win that, I wrestle in the African Championships in May, and that'll be in Cairo, Egypt. And then if I win, and then the Mediterranean Games, and that'll be actually back in Algeria. So my family could actually be able to come watch me for that one.
So let's talk a little bit about this. So your father, was he born in Algeria?
Yeah, he was there for 25 years. My dad's the only one in the U.S. right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my whole family's there. So. I got to actually go to Algeria this past February, and I got to meet my family for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad has 4 brothers, 5 sisters. I have a handful of cousins. Got to meet them for the first time.
Now, what an incredible experience now, where you'll could possibly have the opportunity to represent your father's home country, and then for your extended family to be able to watch you represent Algeria.
Yeah, like even when I went over there, they were just so proud of me that it was not even that I made the team or not, but just
that it's a possibility.
Yeah, that I was there, and that they didn't even care actually that I was like wrestling. They were more worried about like they actually finally got to meet me, and like the culture there, they're just so loving. Like I'd be just sitting like watching TV with one of my cousins. My aunt would come up, oh Taleb, and kiss me on the forehead. But it was just absolutely beautiful being there.
So how does this work? I know that it's become a little bit more common in the last couple of years. I know like the Amines wrestled for San Marino, because I think their father's originally from San Marino. How does it work? Do you have to have dual citizenship?
For Algeria, you have to have dual citizenship to be able to try to make the team. I got it when I was, I think, a junior in college, and then I never really like capitalized on going when I was still like training all the time in college, which I should have. But you have to have citizenship there, just like the Amines. They have citizenship in San Marino. Micic has citizenship in Serbia.
Serbia, yeah.
And then Abinator has citizenship in Lebanon. And that's how
there's a kid from Edinburgh too.
Yeah, Habit.
Yeah,
I think I forget what country.
Slovenia,
maybe.
Yeah.
He has citizenship in Slovenia because of his mother. So like all of them are. I mean, if you have the opportunity to make a national team and wrestle on the world stage, because especially at like a means weight, the guy in front of him is Taylor.
Right.
Yeah, so
he's not going to make the American team.
Yeah. No, if you look at it, like, so Taylor was the gold medalist at the Olympics. Amin bronzed.
Right.
So like the number 1 and 3 guy in the world are in the same country. And if you have a chance to go to another country to compete and actually medal somewhere, might as well.
No, I think it's a great opportunity. Anytime any of our guys can get to compete on the world stage. I mean, you got a good guy in front of you too in your weight class here in the U.S. So.
Oh yeah.
Which would be Dake, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I think, and if you look at, I mean, Russia's been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm.
You look at all these Eastern Bloc teams, all their guys are either the Russian guy that was the Olympian 2 cycles ago or whatever, or maybe the guy that's number 3 in the depth chart, and they're medaling, for these other, teams in Eastern Europe or whatever.
Was it Sabalov after he lost to Sidakov? Like that's what he did. I think he went to, I forget what country started. It was either Serbia or Slovakia or something like that. And that's who he wrestles for now.
Yeah.
Because he can't beat Sidakov.
Right.
So and he's one of the top guys at the weight, so he has to go somewhere else.
I mean, chances are if they got a V at the end of their name, they're probably from Russia.
Yeah.
Regardless of what country they're wrestling for. So
yeah.
No, I'm glad that you're getting the opportunity, and I think the family side of it is really cool, which you and I hadn't really talked about before. So I think that's going to be an amazing feeling for you to kind of go to the trials and hopefully get to represent them at the African Championships.
Yeah,
and it'll be in Cairo, Egypt.
Yeah, and my girlfriend's family's from Egypt, so I talked to her dad, and she was like, "Hey," he goes, "Yeah, we might have to go take the family and go watch."
Yeah, how else would you get an experience like this other than through sports?
Exactly. If I make the team, they should pay for the flight and stay there. So being able to travel the world, and even if they don't pay for it, just at 24 years old, being able to go to Egypt, maybe go, I don't know where the world championships are next year, but if I get to go there, like just being able to see the world, like most people in the U.S. don't even get to do that. Right. Especially people my age.
No, I mean, I think about it. I mean, I've traveled a lot, but if I really think about it, I've been to, Mexico and Jamaica and like the Caribbean. I mean, I've never been to Europe. Yeah, but then I think of like my buddy Reese Humphrey. He's been all over.
Yeah, he just won the Veterans.
He just won the Veterans over in Greece.
Yeah.
So and he spent a week over there in Greece with his dad. They're going bungee jumping. They're doing all this stuff, and so I think using, people look at wrestling a lot and think like, well, you don't make millions of dollars in wrestling like you do in the NFL or this or that, but to use it as a vehicle to get an education, to improve your life, and to get, now at the stage you're at, be able to get to see the world, reunite with your family. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, because it would have been a lot harder to get to, because especially when I went over, I was on the last flight because they had closed down the borders because of COVID, and I was on. So for December and January, they had repatriation for people that were stuck in other countries, and I was on the last flight there, and the guy I sat next to was telling me he'd been stuck in Saudi Arabia for the past year. He has 4 kids that he hasn't got to see in a year.
Wow.
And he's like, you should consider yourself lucky. This is your first time in the country. There's still people that are from here that are still waiting to see their families. They've been stuck outside their country, outside of their home. I was like, I really took that to heart. Like, yeah, I'm very lucky because I had to get it approved by the Ministry of the Interior, Ministry of Sports, to be able to approve to get me onto that special flight back in.
Now, so you have the championships coming up on New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. Now, will that be your first time actually competing overseas?
It'll be my first time competing since ACC was my senior year. Because I had to, I haven't been able to secure my license to compete. So that for this I won't need to, but for like any UWW events, I would have to. And Like, that's why I couldn't wrestle in the Open when they had the Open, because when you wrestle for another country, you can't wrestle for any qualifying events. So,
Right.
like, the Open, if you place top 7, you qualify for the trials. So, or same thing with U23, the U23 championships. I can't wrestle in that because it qualifies for the U23 world team.
But there might be some other domestic events like the
the Dave Schultz or the
Schultz,
NYAC, but they didn't have those last year.
Are they having the NYAC this year?
I have no clue. I'd like to wrestle in it. I just want to compete as much as I can.
I think you might need to talk to Logan, see if he can find out for you.
Yeah.
You just got to show up and practice and wrestle hard. You don't need to know when the events are.
Yeah, just tell me where it is and I'll go.
So let's just touch. There's one thing I want to kind of touch on briefly before we wrap it up. This is one of the things I kind of talk about with everyone who comes on, because this is the Wrestling Strength Podcast, and we don't necessarily need to talk about strength training, but I like to talk about physical strength, mental strength, kind of where that comes from, where it's developed. You know, kind of the old, nature versus nurture argument. A lot of wrestlers I talk to, like let's say a guy like Colin Moore. He grew up, he was kind of a rough, tough kid to begin with, and then he was thrust into an environment that made him even tougher. Mm-hmm. So what type of kid were you? Because you're kind of like a little bit of a goofball. You know what I mean?
I'm right. Yeah, I'm a big goofball.
So what were you like growing up? Were you like this rough and tumble kid? Or?
No. I was just a big goofball, but like whatever you throw at me, I'm going to take it. And like you wanted me to go run 10 miles, I'll go run 10 miles. I won't like it, but I'll go do it. Like I'm one of those, like you tell me what to do, I'll go do it. Like no questions asked. Like,
so do you think that's why you kind of took to wrestling from an early age, is just like the challenge of it? Or
yeah, because I was such a hyper kid. My mom was like, oh, we just need to get him in something. So like I was in soccer, football, and I still had a lot of energy. And I don't know if do you know Alex Cepeda?
Yeah, I know Cepeda real well.
So Cepeda's dad, he was actually the youth coach, and he came in and like talked to like the elementary school. He's like, blah blah blah, come out for wrestling. And I was like, okay, let's try it. I was a little heartbroken when I went in and it wasn't WWE. Like I wasn't gonna be able to do body slams and all that stuff. But I still loved it, and that's got me where I am today. But I really like the whole reason why I got into wrestling is because of Alex's dad, and he was a big part of like just my start and that mentality. Like I remember I lost a match one time and I'm crying, and he's like, hey, it's just a match. You got another one. Go win that one. And he was just a great guy. And I remember also like he was a big supporter of all of us. And my freshman year, I made the national team, or not the national team, but the nationals. And there was another guy that made it from my high school. His name was Noah Forrider, wrestled for OU.
Yep.
And Alex's dad, he had gotten diagnosed with cancer, and he wasn't going to make it that long. And he's like, yeah, I have 2 of my boys at the national tournament. I don't know if I get to see the next one. I got to go. So that was the last time we got to see him. And it was great being able to have him as a coach and have him as like a mentor when I was really young. And then, also,
you think about the impact that people have on you coming into your life at a young age. Like, I think as a coach, like you're somewhat cognizant of it, but you don't really realize the way that the kid views it.
Yeah.
So a guy like Jesse, he coached you guys when you were young or whatever, probably mentored you all this time, and then that bond that you have. Then for him, not only like the way you view him and the way he's impacted your life, but now like one of his last things he gets to do before he passes, like. What a proud moment for him to see it come full circle, to see you and Noah wrestle with the NCAAs. Yeah,
and it meant a lot. Like I know he was struggling with a lot, like health wise, and he still like came through all that. And especially, it wasn't like anywhere close. It was in St. Louis, and it meant a lot, like for him to be there.
So would you say that was probably one of your proudest moments throughout your career, is having him getting to come watch you at the...
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I would have been able to All-American for him, but things didn't happen that way that year.
Well, I think as a coach, getting to see your kids, even getting to see them in the mix, what I mean? I got one of my kids that I coached, trained here at the gym from like 6th grade, junior high, high school. Now he walked on at Ohio State. He's in his 3rd year at Ohio State. I'm gonna get to watch him at the wrestle offs on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the finals, but he got Sammy Sasso.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, going in with Sammy's the best kid in the country.
Yeah, and just seeing all the work you put in.
Yeah,
like,
but
as a coach, and then just like, just even as an athlete, like seeing all that work somebody has put into you, and they come and still support you.
Yeah,
it's a great feeling.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at is like, it's not going to be important to me whether he wins or loses that match.
Exactly.
Just the fact that he's there, he'll get to be on that stage, wrestling against the best kid in the country, wearing a Buckeye singlet.
Mm-hmm.
When I trained him since he was 75 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, I would say, even though you did an All-American as a freshman, for Coach Cepeda to be there watching you and Noah, it was the same feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just the fact that you made it. So cool story. Makes me feel a little emotional thinking about it, right? Cool. Well, listen, man, anything else you want to add before we sign off?
All right. Just still staying on like what made me like, do you know Carson's dad, Moran?
Oh yeah.
That's also what's really made me into
we got to talk about Coach Moran for a minute, right?
God, there's a lot to talk about with him. But so like at a young age, like I think I started there when I was like 7 or 8. Just he screams at you all the time, and that really makes you and he just forces you to put more into what you're doing. So like if you're not drilling hard enough, he yells at you, drill harder. If you're not running hard enough, screams at you, run harder. So it makes it easier for you to push yourself.
See, I like the pushing a kid to get the best out of them, but I don't like the yelling at kids thing. I don't do it.
It never bothered me. Like at a young age, like it did when I was younger.
Well, yeah, some kids it's gonna bother, some kids it's not going to. But I'm just thinking like as a coach. And now, like, I'm going to be coaching youth wrestling this year. I'll be coaching, the team here in Granville. I don't know. I guess it's just not my style. I mean, Moran's kind of an old school crazy Russian, so he's different. But
I mean, it also, you have to know who you're coaching to. Like, there's some kids that can't handle it and they quit the team. So, but like, when I was there, we had a great, like, we'd win Tulsa Nationals every year. We'd win like all the national tournaments because like we'd be getting into those hard matches, and we weren't fazed by if something didn't go our way, because stuff never went our way in practice, because he was no matter how hard we were going, we were still getting yelled at. So like if we got hit for stalling when we weren't stalling, or they got 2 on us when it shouldn't have been, we didn't let that affect us. Like we kept our cool, because we were able to keep our cool as he was screaming at us the whole time.
So I think what we've discovered through this conversation is you're an example of the nurture. Your toughness came from your environment.
Oh yeah.
You're a natural. Now you probably had some natural competitiveness. You had some hyperactivity.
Oh yeah, I'm a competitor like naturally, but like with like the training stuff is definitely nurture.
Yeah.
Like so I'm more like, tell me what to do and I'll do it.
You were shaped by your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you, where can for everyone that's listening, where can they find you at on Instagram, Facebook, wherever? Tell us where.
Just my name, Taleb Rahmani, is Taleb. That one's not that hard. And then last name is Rahmani.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, really looking forward to helping you through the years here at the Ohio RTC. We're glad you're back in Central Ohio, and really excited to see what happens on New Year's Eve when you get to go to Algeria.
Same.
All right.
I'm excited. I can't wait to compete.
Let's get it.